Well, with me right now is the board president of Third Mutual, Rosemary DiLorenzo. Thank you for coming in today.
Thank you for having me.
And we got a lot to talk about.
We certainly do. Third board is always really busy.
Yeah, and the first one is we want to get the word out. I know we've talked about this before, we've been getting the word out, that you have a couple vacancies, so you're looking for candidates.
Yeah, we have two vacancies. One is because Bert Moldow, our esteemed Bert Moldow, went over to GRF, which is going to be great because Bert has done so much for Third. And we have to fill his position, and then one of the other directors, Susie, resigned for personal reasons, so we have two openings, and we are accepting applications. You can get applications upstairs at Catherine Laster's desk.
Yes.
That's on the second floor of the community center. Up until, and you can get them at any time. They have to be returned, completed by noon, Friday the 4th.
Yes.
All right, and as of now, we have 2.5 applications completed.
2.5,
Two and a
okay.
half, which isn't good. No, I mean, that's good, but we have two positions open. So please, serving on the board is very rewarding. And we do try to cut back the number of meetings we have, although they're having a meeting right now while I'm sitting here.
Yes.
But it is, most people say it's a great group. It's very stimulating. It's a really good team, so it could be very rewarding.
And
So-
from what I understand, these two vacancies will last about 1.5 years.
Yeah,
Am I
they
right?
actually do last 1.5 years. They wouldn't have to rerun in September September when we have the
Right.
election. They'd be on for another year. So that gives you a good feeling as to whether you really want to stay.
Yeah, so you get
But
to
most
fill
people
half
want-
a
yeah,
term.
yeah.
Very good. Now, vacant houses, and I know I've heard from both the folks in United and from you folks. This is a big concern for a variety of reasons.
The thing is we actually, I think they went through the records and we actually found that a unit has been vacant for upwards of 20 years.
I heard that. That's astounding to me.
And it's not like they're not paying their assessments
Mm-hmm.
for 20 years. On these units, they're current. Either the money is coming out of a trust,
Mm-hmm.
so because the owner might be deceased, maybe the children are waiting until they're old enough to move in. Maybe everybody's arguing about it. I don't know.
That's true.
But we need a much stronger inspection policy because we can't have units that are not inspected for 1 year or 3 years or 5 years because things could happen. And we don't
Yeah.
only want it to be an emergency. Yeah, if there was a leak or something, we can get in, that we know about. But in some of these, the toilet could be running or
Yeah.
a window could have broken and a bird could be living in. I don't know. So basically, we have updated our vacant manor policy, and because it's such an emergency, it isn't going to be a policy where it goes into 30-day notification, et cetera.
Okay.
Basically, it becomes an emergency procedure, and I'll have Bert we'll talk more about it at the board meeting, which is coming up in a few weeks, just so that everybody knows what happens. And then within those 6 months that we're allowed to have an emergency procedure, we will develop the resolution and have a real resolution on file. But according to our attorney, you can't do an emergency procedure because our insurance company requires it, and we have to make sure that we're up there and current.
Oh, it's amazing, 20 years.
Oh,
yeah.
my goodness.
And of course, even though the assessments are being paid, as you mentioned, as other folks have mentioned, there could be problems happening there,
Right.
Whatever it may be, and
we only know, but I think in one unit, somebody actually noticed that there might have been a leak in there, and one of the residents pointed out. We went in and we found mold. Now
Yeah.
it was just at the first stages, so it's really, really important for us. And I know that one of the things that's going to come out is I think that we have to do a better job of promoting the program where the residents hand in their key. And I know that I talked to Brad about that, and I also talked to our communications person, Eileen, and to make the program tighter. Why is it that people are reluctant to give in their key? Address that, figure out what the goal is, how we can better achieve the goal. What are the reasons why? Go ask 10 people, have you given in your key? Why not? Type of thing, and solve it. Because if it's easier for us to have the key there to go into a unit as opposed to the lock change and whatever, we have to figure out a reason why people don't want to hand in their key and make sure that they feel safe and secure in doing so. And I think that some people might not feel that way. I don't think anybody doesn't have an extra key. So we're really working on that also as part of this program.
All right, very good. Let's move on to why can't I pronounce it? Alteration standard. I'm looking at that. And this is something that, again, both United and you folks are, I guess in a sense, streamlining.
Right. I get really upset when I read the local paper the week after our board meeting, and it says, third is introducing new standards. We're not introducing new standards. We are modifying and updating the standards that we have.
From what I understand, as a lot of these are over the years you folks have looked at, again, both you and United. And the thing is, in a sense, you're kind of bringing them up to date, making things a little bit easier, standardizing things that maybe over the years people had to get variance for, and now you're making it easier in the long run.
And we just, the thing is what the person who we have in charge of the department now, and that's a good change that we have somebody in charge of the department, is going through them and saying, these are too wordy, this doesn't pertain to it anymore, let's update it in this way, let's simplify it, we don't really need this at all. So it's really a very positive, and he'll do maybe, because there's so many of them, he'll do like 5 or 6 or 7 at every meeting. So we are not adding any standards. We are not adding standards. We're really trying to make the whole situation better and easier for the residents.
Yeah. It takes a little time because there's so many, but in the long run,
and maybe there'll be less when we're finished.
Could be.
That'll be a good thing.
Now, another thing that you got to look at continually over the years are the slopes and the proper way to maintain them. And we've had, with the drought and all kinds of different things, it's an ongoing situation.
Third, when I first got on the board, which is almost 5 years ago, we actually had a slope program where we would go and replant, et cetera. Then we stopped it because of the drought.
Yeah.
Well, the basic thing is that we still are in drought situation, but we can't neglect the slopes. So we're looking at why are the slopes in this condition? Is it the condition of the soil? We were told that, or we went to a lecture about, and one of the board members, Jules, came back with a lot of information that we have a Mediterranean climate, so we shouldn't be doing like this drought resistant stuff, which doesn't mean to say we're going to go and plant the slopes with grapevines and olive trees.
The grapevines,
we were thinking about it, like that would be nice. But the thing is we have to really go to really move to the right planting for this climate. So it isn't desert, drought resistant. It's so we're really working on that. I'm really confident in the person who we have in charge of landscape, Bruce. He's very knowledgeable, very aggressive, and it's something that we have to work on. I know part of it is the clearing of the slopes, which in some areas have overgrown acacia on it, which we hate. Every time I see it, I get, think, oh gosh, there might be a coyote hiding in there. And I believe that one of the things that he's looking at, because we've actually worked with the union on this, is possibly hiring out the crews who clean the slopes, because it's heavy work and it needs very special training, and a number of our employees might not be young enough to do it. We don't want to, there's certainly no problem being older. I'm a little older, and but so I think that he's really working on it. He's looking at it, a good way to try to clean them up. I know every morning when I get a walk around, walk the dog, and I see the plants, I want to take a picture of them and send them to him. But he is working on it. We have to get rid of the growth because of the fire danger. But we want to clean them up, and we're not going to be like wild people in there and put in a bunch of flowers as was done in the past, and then they die a year later. We have to be really careful on what we're doing. So I think that's a new and exciting thing that we haven't worked on for a while. So you'll see more activity there.
All right, now leaks, and going kind of keeping in mind with the slopes and things like that. Well, if you're walking around or the sprinklers come on or whatever it might be, even if they aren't on, you might see some water flowing somewhere, and it's the residents of the eyes and ears to the first ones, the first responders towards the leak, so to speak.
And it's so true. You hear the sprinklers going on, for example, and then the next day you come out and there's like a ton of water in the street. That would mean that there's probably something wrong.
Yeah.
Either a sprinkler head was broken or there's a leak there, and one of our residents had been reporting a leak over and over and over again, and finally it did get to Bruce and he took care of it, and it was a water main leak. So look at all the money that could be saved. So our residents, what you see, what you notice, what you can report to us, because this is a tremendous place, is so very important, because we don't want to waste water. Because the water that we use, we want to be using it correctly and not be wasting it, because we really do watch our water bill. And James does such a great job with watching our water. He actually, I don't know if I had said it before, he actually noticed that our water bill was way too high, and he actually personally went to the location and looked at the meter, and the water company had read the meter incorrectly. And they owe us a credit of $21,000, which is a lot.
That's a lot of money.
And we're having our finance meeting on Tuesday, and I already asked, because we had a pre-meeting, and I said, did we get the $21,000 credit yet from the water department? So, you have to look at things in all different ways. Don't waste water, is the bill correct, and all this other stuff. So it's really interesting. So the area, the people, please help us. Another way that you could really help us, and this will be my last thing for today, is we're really working with the head of architecture, and we're really trying to work for the residents in trying to minimize improper, I think that would be, or incorrect, or not done right construction in the community. Right. And there are a lot of things that, we have found that sometimes if people have non-permitted construction, people could be going in and removing beams that are support beams. And because when you pull a permit, your work has to be inspected.
Yes,
so they could be and we've had one or two people who I feel sorry, we've tried to help them. They bought a unit that had been renovated and not correctly, and the things in it were not done properly. So the whole program, this whole alteration procedures, alteration standards, which we're trying to improve, really is just very, very good. So we're working totally with the residents. I think the residents are excellent. I mean, they have reported things like construction people sleeping overnight in the units, which of course is not allowed. Vehicles on the street, people working at 8 o'clock at night. People, actually, we had a building captain report debris, and we had to go out and not only to clean it up, but to see if there was possible asbestos in it, because it was from a non-permitted unit. So we had to work with all of the people in the building. We had to have all of the in case they walked in it, checked for possible asbestos. So, and this was a contractor not being permitted and disposing of debris in the improper way. And whenever we find that that's happening, in order to not incur tremendous costs for the mutual, we have to deal with the owner or member who has hired this contractor, who is just not paying attention. So if you are getting construction done, make sure that you have a licensed contractor and that your contractor is following the rules. It's better for you and for everybody else.
Yeah, and safer too. You mentioned asbestos. Some of these units are old enough that there could even be lead-based paint.
Right.
Maybe that's been painted over the years.
Right.
Now you're taking that down.
Right.
Well, you got to do it the right way.
Right. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you coming on today. And remember, folks, if you're interested in applying to be on the third board, where they'll be appointing 2 folks, make sure to get your application into Catherine Laster by May 4th by noon. That's a Friday, right?
Yes.
And that's where you would get the application as well up here on the 2nd floor. So,
And she'll help you if you have any questions.
yes, she's very good at that.
Yeah.
All right, good
Thanks
to see
a
you.
lot.
Thanks,
Thank
Ann.
you.
We'll be right
Bye-bye.
back.